Hello there. Welcome. It is Peggy McColl, and we're here for the Manifestation Podcast. And this is a special edition. During this session, I have invited a guest to join us. And this is a gentleman by the name of Jason Russell. And Jason, I had met through an email, and the email was sent to my support team, Celine in particular. She got Jason's email, she read it, and she thought, Peggy, you need to see this email. And she was absolutely right. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I want to welcome Jason. Thank you so much for being here with us. So welcome, Jason.
Hi, Peggy. Thank you for having me.
I'm so grateful that you're here. It's really very kind of you to share your time and to share your experience with everyone. And as you know, our podcast is really designed to help people, either help uplift them or help them to look at things a little differently, and ultimately help them manifest anything that they want in their life. And so in this email that Jason had sent, he said that he had spent a number of weeks browsing through the podcast, and Jason's going to share that with you in a moment. And it led him, and I'm going to ask him, actually, that'll be one of the first questions I ask is, so what sort of led you here? And we'll hear that in a moment. But it had led him over to the Power Life Script program, which he did invest in. But what I find incredibly wonderful about Jason's experience, which is very, very similar to my own, is like me, Jason started studying success back in the 70s. And at that time in his email, he shared that he was reading Success Magazine. I was a subscriber of that. I couldn't wait for the next issue to come out. You had mentioned that you'd purchased many of Nightingale Conant Corporation's cassette tapes in the 80s and 90s. I did as well. I'm certain I was one of their biggest clients. Probably you were too. And that you had listened to The Strangest Secret, and you always had goals, some of which you achieved, but not to the level that you wanted. And that's what I want people to really understand, how they can get to the level that they desire. You had mentioned you did the Secret series, the Bob Proctor courses, Neville Goddard, Feeling is a Secret. You have that in audio, and you've listened to it over 22 times. And it wasn't until you listened to several of my podcasts that you really started to get it. And you said that you had some revelations. And so we're going to get into some of those revelations in a moment. And I encourage everyone that's listening, get a pen and paper ready, because this entire podcast may be a revelation. But Jason, let's start from, if you don't mind, just sharing what led you to listen to my podcast.
Well, I wasn't actually looking for you. I was walking dogs, which I do a fair amount of. And the world of podcasts is still relatively new to me. One of them just showed up on my screen. I started listening to it, so I started out to even pay attention to them. I'm always business oriented, so I was actually looking for a Wall Street Journal podcast. And for some reason, you were right next to it, or the word manifestation, and then the word Peggy McColl was right there. And I thought, well, I don't know who she is or what this is, but I'll just try it. So as I walk my dogs, and this is not much more than 2 to 2.5 or 3 weeks ago at most, I listened to podcast number 42, because that's where you were at the time.
Oh, that's cool. You know what I love about what you're sharing, Jason? I want everyone to understand this as well, is that you're walking the dogs. You're going to be walking the dogs anyway. And you chose to listen to something positive, like basically to educate yourself. And a lot of people don't understand that there's so much more that we can do with the time that we have. In other words, you're going to be washing the dogs, you're going to be doing dishes, you're going to be doing all these other things. And this is why the Power Life Script works so well, is because you can use it while you're doing other things. So I love that you were right in that place of doing something and at the same time being productive in it. So that was a great example of who you are, Jason, to discipline yourself enough to be listening while you're walking the dogs. Now, here's what Jason said in his email. He said he was listening, and then he had the following revelations. He said, first, this one hit him like a brick. He said, to think from a goal as already achieved instead of someday I will achieve this. It clarified why I achieved so few of my goals. I constantly ask myself, now you ask yourself, now that my dreams are fulfilled, how do I feel? And what you said you're doing now is you're working on the feeling of your goals having already been achieved, thinking from a goal instead of a goal. And I want to say, Jason, that is one thing that will make a huge difference in somebody manifesting their every desire. Right? So what are the things that you're doing? Are you just consciously choosing to think from your goal? Is that what you're doing in order to really invoke those emotions?
Well, what I noticed is that the feeling it's new to me to start to feel that something's already done. So what I'm uh, listening to you, I've been doing mirror work where I say that and I say it enthusiastically, and how you look in one eye, then the other eye. Then also on my Power Life script, I say it very enthusiastically. I will
Oh,
also take my Power Life script to the mirror and look at the mirror as I, kind of create that feeling. This feeling is, we all have feelings, but what I'm noticing is these type of feeling is a different sort of feeling.
that's
but,
good.
but so I'm trying to create the feeling, and I know I'm going to get better at it, but it's new to me. But at the same time, I can tell that I'm starting to feel the result of what it is I want. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing.
definitely. You know what I love what I'm hearing from you, Jason, and I want everyone also listening to really think about this is it's like a fine tuning of the dial, if you will. I think back to when I was a young girl. I had a boyfriend who was totally into rebuilding engines, and he used to race in the quarter mile. And one of the cars that he had was a '69 Pontiac GTO Judge, and he actually had a couple of them. He ended up buying another one. He had two of them, and he used to spend or invest hours and hours and hours in his garage, in his parents' garage. And he would be constantly, working on the engine and fine tuning it. And I remember thinking, it sounds perfect to me. And he'd go and race it in the quarter mile. And of course, it was all about the best time. And yet he'd come back and he was always adjusting, whether it was taking the screwdriver and putting in the carburetor and just adjusting it a tiny fraction of an inch. And it would make a difference. It would make that much of a difference. And really what I'm hearing you say, Jason, is that's what you've done is you've adjusted. It's like you've fine-tuned, you've honed in and tuned in even more effectively. And yet it will make a big difference by doing what you're doing. So good for you. And that's what it'll bring. Good for you. Now, the second thing that Jason said he realized is don't quit. I think I always knew this stuff worked and it didn't work for me, and I would give up or I would quit, and being frustrated that I rarely got what I envisioned. And I wrote a book called Be a Dog with a Bone. And I had released that back in 2002. It was one of the first books that I wrote, self-published, and brought it out to the world. And really, that's what that book is all about. Don't quit. Like, even when you feel like it, you might think, oh, why am I even doing this? And you just want to throw in the towel, or results don't seem to be coming. And so for you, what did that really mean for you in your life, this whole idea of not quitting?
Well, again, looking at the past, when you set the goals and things kind of work, but they don't quite work, you don't quite get what you want, you kind of get, at least I got kind of a resignation from, listening just a short time that I have with you and reading what your website and your manifesting toolbox and things like that. There's now a roadmap, or there's now a vision, or that this can happen just by not quitting, by constantly doing the work that is outlined here. What's the Power Life script, or the mirror work, the affirmations, and then believing. And I totally believe that what you say is true, that it will happen. Where in the past I never had a surety or whatever that anything was going to happen. And then when it didn't happen, it just kind of reinforced that, well, this stuff, I know it's there, but I can't seem to figure it out, or it doesn't quite work for me. So I now have a belief that this does work, will work. And so I'm going to continue to do it. And you've already guaranteed me, and I don't think you're an example of it, as are many of your students.
Right. I was having a conversation with my husband about that this morning, because I was saying to him, like, I also work with people on helping them understand how, create a source or multiple sources of income online. I've been running my business online for many, many years. And I was having a conversation with Denny this morning, and I was talking about how this industry, there's so many people that are out there, and that are just popping up all over the place, and putting their flag in the ground going, hey, I'm going to teach you how to be successful. And so in the conversation, I was saying to Denny that there's a lot of charlatans out there, people who are not authentic. They may even have the understanding, but they're not living it. They're not really in a place of understanding it. And of course, as Bob Proctor says, by their fruits you will know them. And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that, I started studying these materials 41 years ago, and it has changed my life. It's absolutely changed my life in every way. And I'm so glad I did the work. And there was never a guarantee, in my mind that my life was going to turn around, but something kept me going. It was a desire for getting out of emotional pain, or the desire to create even better results. But what's fascinating is, and it's kind of like what you said in your email about the last point, is that when we really understand how it works, that's where the magic occurs. And there's a quote that I heard many, many years ago, and it goes like this: magic is the opposite of life. With magic, when you know how it works, the magic disappears. But with life, when you know how it works, the magic begins. And that's what's really happening for you as well, because you've done all the work, you've invested the decades into this study. And as you said in your email, these are your words: having done a lot of Bob Proctor's work, I knew what a paradigm is, but had no idea how to change them or create the ones I want. And from listening to a few podcasts, you get it, that it's the repetition, repetition, repetition. And you're absolutely right about that. But it's not just, and everyone listening, it's not just a repetition of affirmations or words or doing the things that are going to get you to where you want to go. It's the repetition of the feeling as if you're already there. That's where the magic occurs. That's when things happen. Sometimes at lightning speeds, not always, but sometimes they happen at lightning speeds, and you're going like, wow, this stuff really works. But it does, and it works for anyone, no matter what it is that they are looking to accomplish. So what are you excited about, moving forward, Jason? Like, what are some of the things that you're working toward and you're looking to accomplish in your life?
Well, one of the main things is I'm signed up with a trading academy in Chicago and stock options. And I've been wanting to do that successfully all my life. And I have had some success, but this is a professional trading academy where they're quite successful at it. They give you their exact trades. It's very, some of them are sophisticated option trades, but I've been studying that. And I've been, one of the Power Life Script things is my monthly income is now equivalent to last year's yearly income. Beautiful. And one of the ways I see that happening is through this trading academy that I'm working with. The other thing is I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do your course on the multiple sources of income. And I've got some people that just came out of nowhere that are wanting to assist me with that, and some products that I really like. So that's another thing I want to get involved with. I've got quite a few things on my Power Life script, but I'm just excited about a lot of the stuff here because
that's great. That is great.
I believe it'll happen.
And so in your Power Life script, you write it in the present tense, and you include all areas of your life as well?
Yes. And actually, I know that she doesn't normally do this, but I got in conversation with Celine, and I asked her if she'd just take a look at it, and she did. And she said it was just fine. I mean, I'm not volunteering her because that isn't what she normally does. But she looked at it for me and said it was written properly, and yes, it was very well done. And I'm recording it, and so yeah. In the present tense, I follow the Power Life script that programs that you provide, and I copied and pasted some of them. The ones I didn't copy and paste, I wrote in a way that is already happening. I'm so happy and grateful, and so on, and I'm open to, and this is happening. So yes. And the Power Life script, for anybody that's looking at that, it's beautifully done. It breaks it down by sections, whether you want a soulmate, whether you want income, whether you want health, whatever you want. There's samples of that for you to get ideas from.
Yeah, perfect. I love that. Well, that's wonderful that Celine was so helpful. She is definitely an above and beyond kind of gal, and I love that she did that. But I do want everyone listening, we do not review everyone's Power Life script. So it's actually, Jason, it's a service we're going to add. We are going to add that as because we've had people ask, and of course we've got thousands and thousands of people that are now using Power Life script, and so it will be a service that we are going to offer. And we're also going to offer a service where we'll record it for you and say it to you. So it would be like, Jason, you live in a magnificent life, and everything that you set for yourself, you've accomplished. Your income is now 12 times what it was last year. And you're doing work that you're deeply passionate about. And we'll do things like that. So that will be a service that we're going to be offering, because this big part of the business is we're always focused on how will we improve? How can we do it better today? How can we serve others better today than we did yesterday? And so I really love that that's really what we're here to do. It really is about improvement. I mean, you're obviously somebody who has been at this for a long time. What I love so much about your email is your dedication, because honestly, Jason, most people would have given up, if they didn't see massive results at that point. And the difference is, and really where the distinction happens for those that use the Power Life Script effectively, is it does have the power to change your life in every way. And it does it magically. And the thing is, it's so simple to use. You just push play, right? Just push play and listen. And you get inspired and connected to your goals as if they're already here. So do you listen to your Power Life Script every day now?
I just finished, since I keep listening to your podcast, I keep adding things to it. So I finally have a final version of it, and it's all printed out, and I'm reading it right now. And I'm traveling actually today back to on a trip. So I'm putting it on a little voice memo, and I'm listening to it or reading it every day. So yes, but it will be recorded, and it'll be listened to multiple times a day very soon.
Beautiful. Well, that you really bring up a very good point, and that is that Power Life Scripts are very likely going to be changed and going to be adjusted. I find that I adjust mine less frequently because I've been at it for well over 20 years. I think about 25 years now I've been listening to my Power Life Script. And so if I'm studying or when I'm studying and I read something that really inspires me, or I just simply get an idea or a thought, or I'm looking at something, a commercial or whatever, it's like, oh yeah, I'd love to do that. And I'll just add it and then re-record it. Reading it is a great thing to do as well. I know there's some folks that don't necessarily have an audio, like they don't listen to audio, but reading it is a very effective thing. I love that you talked about reading it in front of the mirror as well. So Power Life Script definitely could be something that people could listen to or read, or both. Another thing that I do suggest for our listeners is that listen to it multiple times. And so my objective is to listen to mine 10 times a day. And even though it's over 20 minutes, that may seem like a lot, but it isn't if you start or when you start early in the day. So for those that are Power Life Script users or soon to be Power Life Script users, set an objective to listen to your Power Life Script definitely every day. But the more you listen to it, the better it's going to go. It's not something that you can overdo, of course, and it's definitely something that is very easy to listen to. Like you mentioned, Jason, walking the dogs. We have 2 little dogs and we walk them every day as well. And my earbuds are almost always in my ears while I'm walking the dogs. And if not, then I'll go for another walk and put the earbuds in my ears. Or if I'm doing the dishes or laundry or getting ready in the morning or whatever I'm doing, I'm listening to it every single day. So I really want to encourage everyone to listen to their Power Life Script every day. So Jason, it is a wrap for today. I really want to express my extreme gratitude and appreciation for you being willing to join us today on this podcast to share in your experience as well. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with folks that are listening?
Well, no, just thank you so much for having me. And for anybody that is wondering about this, much of this work is almost free. It's definitely worth taking a look at. And there's so many opportunities in this work. And this group just is really trying to help people. You can tell us their mission. And it's there for the taking. And all you have to do is be there.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah. And Jason's right. We've got a lot of stuff available for free. The Manifestation Podcast. Of course, if someone's listening to this, you're already a subscriber. And if you like the podcast, please share it with others and leave us a 5-star review. We also have a lot of tools at Manifestation Toolbox that you can check into as well. So I want to thank you, Jason, for being here, and thank you for listening. And we look forward to being back with you again at a future Manifestation Podcast.